Would you prefer to meet someone organically, kind of more like meet cute, meet in a park, coffee shop, whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. For you guys specifically, don't you think that the fairy tale thing would be for a guy to not meet a girl who's done sex work?
No, this isn't like Cinderella or anything.
What?
It's real life. Like, at least if you're honest about it and they have a problem with it, then that's fine too. They have a problem with it. But if they don't,
what kind of man do you think would want that? I'm just curious.
I haven't dated a man since freshman year in high school, and countless of them in my DMs asking to take me out. They know what I do.
But do you think that they would want to marry someone like that?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I don't want to marry anybody. I don't want to marry anybody. Yeah, I don't even want children.
Right.
The most dishonest thing a woman can do, or a man who came onto a dating podcast, is to say that they don't want success in dating or relationships. It contradicts your very presence on the panel. It's just such a kiddish thing that we're seeing women do that I really don't understand. Why come on a dating show if you don't care about your dating outcomes? It comes off dishonest and just right out of the gate. A lot of times women try to do things like this to be intentionally evasive when they're challenged in a conversation, or if they try to throw out a talking point to defend a practice that they want to be deemed as admirable, that's been already shamed. In the sake of trying to flip the narrative, they'll intentionally be evasive and act as if they don't care about their outcomes. I said this a couple of years ago when I first started my podcast, that Western women bring a willingness to lose to this conversation that's borderline staggering. You hear so many women try to say, well, I don't really want a man, I'm cool by myself, or I'm single by choice. And they say all these things so that when they're challenged in a conversation, they can't be held to any particular standard because it doesn't really matter, what happens to them. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. So it's their way of trying to put themselves in a position to where none of the bad things in the conversation pertain to them either way. And, people who are more intellectual can see through it. I don't think that people are even understanding that when you step on these type of panels where there are millions of people subscribing, some people have the filter to be able to see through this really childish and kiddish banter. I think that men should really avoid women who just create their reality on the fly, or their reality is more based in emotion. And it's not logical, it's not objective, it's just emotional. I also think that a lot of women who try to take this stance, I think that eventually if they do change their mind and eventually do want to settle down, I think that it's in those moments that they actually realize that getting in these kind of careers can create lifelong damage to your dating reputation and your dating chances ultimately. I just don't think that a lot of women who get into these industries think this through, because a lot of times they're really young when they get into these industries. And that's why they're so susceptible and so prone to believing that they can have a long-term career and they'll be able to eventually just stop being a OF model and then transition into a more wholesome way of living, a more feminine way of living. And it's just not how it works. The men who have worked hard to build their reputations up, they aren't a lot of times going to be excited about bringing a woman who's stained her social reputation home to their mother and home to their family, who have invested in them and supported them while they became the men that they were trying to be. Men care about the social aspect of their dating life, and it's something that we don't get to talk about often, that men care about the billboard that they're attached to. And if a woman's billboard is her body and her femininity when she's single, it's the same thing when she's with her man, but it's also her reputation, her body count. Being a part of that industry, nobody even cares what your body count is. Being a part of that industry is already red flag enough that a lot of times a guy will just walk away. And often you see when men try to actually date OF models, they try to either move the woman out of the industry, or eventually the relationship becomes too uncomfortable for them to bear and then they bow out. You see this often with adult stars as well.
I make more than a doctor and I capitalize off of men. You guys are my biggest fans, even if you're haters. I made over $400,000 last year and it is all because of you. So you guys want to keep clowning on work, keep it up, because if you guys just came together as a whole, as men, we wouldn't be in business. We are profiting off of you. Thank you. Keep subscribing to our OnlyFans, keep talking about sex workers, because we are making so much more money, and I'm about to be at $1 million this year, so keep it up.
Crack is cheap.
I can't believe that young women from the age of 14 to 18 are exposed to this kind of content. Where are we getting to in society where it's perfectly okay to normalize things that absolutely should not be normal? I knew that when the rise of OF happened, I knew that it was a problem because I saw young girls making jokes about it, younger women from around the area that I lived. I saw older women making jokes about potentially making one. It became this lighthearted thing when it really is a serious thing. I mean, not everybody on OF is doing adult content, but most people are, and that's pretty much become what it's been known for. So again, just to even associate yourself with the brand, a lot of young girls should be weary of and not so anxious to do. And the rise of seeing other young women who we shouldn't have even catapulted to success be able to make tons of money on the platform. It's not a good message to market to young girls that this is a viable career path. I remember a few years ago when Kevin Samuels had a conversation with an OF model, and he was trying to put in perspective how it would never be clear how sustainable the money that she was making in her career would actually be over time. He was trying to tell her that every 5 or 10 years or so that a new group of women come in who are younger and look better, and they replace all the other adult stars or whatever avenue like OF or whatever is existing. There are always new women who are going to come in and replace the older women because the whole industry is solely based off of how you look and how aesthetically your body looks and so on and so forth. That's why every couple of decades or so, we have brand new adult stars that become popular. We don't forget the old ones who were legendary, but we acknowledge new ones as they come in. This all makes me think about the whole strip club thing. Women always wonder why men fill up strip clubs at the rate that they fill strip clubs up, but men aren't necessarily inclined to marry strippers or even take a stripper serious in most cases. I love that movie, The Players Club, and the scene where Diamond is arguing with her boyfriend, and she's basically telling him, you know, you met me at the club and so on and so forth, so how you gonna expect me to stop now? And he basically gives her an ultimatum that you have to either pick the club or leave me.
Either you stop stripping or I'm gone.
Bye.
You see it a lot in not just black culture, but just anywhere where adult content is being talked about. Former adult stars are giving their honest opinion.
It would, I wish that people would treat me how they would treat a married, registered nurse with 2.5 kids.
You start quickly realizing that no matter how much they made in their heyday, they're very much regretful of making these decisions to be a part of these industries once they later on want to move into professional environments, or they want to just live a legitimate life or try to live a wholesome life and not have that aspect of their life be brought up. A lot of porn stars have had negative, violent reactions to people bringing up their adult star past, but what they don't get is that it's almost impossible for people to forget these type of things once you join these kinds of industries.
And you have the very active in sports and in the adult film community, Mia Khalifa, who was at one point in time the #1 ranked star. Now, I think she's channeled that into an enthusiasm for sports where she speaks with a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge. Like if you step to her and try to argue sports, she will hand you your ass.
First of all, I was in the adult industry for 3 months, so you need to fact check before you ask me to call into your shitty radio station. Goodbye.
We weren't supposed to mention that she was ever in.
It's very shocking that women believe that they'll be able to go into these industries, make money, and men are going to be ready to like marry them and parade them around society, knowing that thousands, if not millions of men have seen them in ways they probably shouldn't have seen them. It's just interesting. And then the one chick is bragging about making $400,000 a year. Who knows how long that she'll be able to earn $400,000 a year doing OF if she doesn't have a exit strategy of some sort. Eventually, younger, better looking women will come in, they'll cut into those earnings, and it's just not a sustainable business model. Kevin Samuels was trying to put women on game about this, that it isn't a sustainable business model.
One thing that I heard from the ladies that I often heard when I spent a lot of time in corporate strip clubs with high-end escorts, stars, the new girls to the industry all thought they discovered fire because they were hot. What Hafiz was trying to tell you, ladies, is the money you're making is seasonal. There will be a new it chick every season. And what ends up happening is if you don't take the money you have while you're hot, and if you're not flexible enough to listen to people who know better, you'll just have a lot of money that you blow. Now, I don't know why so many women think OnlyFans is this open fount of money. It's money. OnlyFans is at scale now. And we have no history on women going a decade of making money, same store sales year over year on this platform. So everything that I heard from you ladies is the most optimistic projections if nothing changes.
But it's just open, so it's not possible for it to be for 10 years because it hasn't even been a decade since the website has just came.
That's what I just said.
Sex work has been around since forever.
Yeah,
but that's
okay. So like I was saying, I traffic in places where high-end dancers, escort, sex work. Ladies, how do you honestly think you're going to make increasing money over the next 10 years?
I've increased my money exponentially every single month since I started OnlyFans.
Stop the cap.
That's a month.
And that's every month. But I said over the next 10 years. You've been in this business for right about a year. Right?
Is 10 years old yet?
That's not the question.
When it comes to finance, when it comes to certain financial markets in society, history does tend to repeat itself. That's why the Forex broker, the stock market investor, they all study the past, because in the world and in society, history has a weird way of repeating itself. If you look at women who have gotten into the adult industry way back and maybe past the 90s and are now trying to have legitimate careers, and we're seeing these examples all the time in men advocacy spaces, you're seeing that one thing that's very evident is that they're actually having a really hard time being able to reestablish themselves as somebody who isn't a 304. I could imagine that that's a challenging thing for anyone to have to deal with, just to come back into society and get people to view you better than what your reputation has preceded. You know, even Diddy as a man, he's going to have a hard time with that himself, just figuring out how he's going to get incorporated back into society if he doesn't end up, being incarcerated or something like that. How do people, after staining their reputations in some of the worst ways, incorporate themselves back into society as something respectable, something trustworthy? I think that it's a question that corn stars, OF models, any woman working in any adult industry should consider before even step foot on a platform like the Whatever podcast or any of these other shows where women have the freedom and the liberty to express their dating opinions free of any guidance, free of any filtering. A lot of women do need to be guided and filtered through these conversations. As we're hearing a lot of childish standards, we're hearing rebellion and women getting angry that men don't want to date either single mothers or overweight women, whatever the case may be. Men are going to always have our preferences. I think what a lot of these issues come down to is that, and we're just not allowed to have preferences, fellas. We're not allowed to make distinctions about what we want to pick, as they make 1,001 distinctions about us in regards to the way that they pick us. They certainly don't pick us off love and some sort of sentimental feeling. Hit the subscribe button on your way out of the room. Also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time we post content just like this. I'll see you on the next one.